Welcome to WBGU Cooks Chef Creations. I'm Steve Kendall. Over the next hour or so, we're going to be talking with you about great chefs and great recipes. With me is Jane Meyer, and of course we have the tough job. We're going to eat. We're going to eat the food and tell people how you can pledge support for WBGU TV. So we're here to kind of help you along the way as we see some great creations from the chefs and Tina Simon, our host, in the WBGU Cooks Kitchen. So without further ado, let's go to the kitchen and Tina with our first chef.
Hello everyone, and welcome to WBGU Cooks Chef's Creations. I'm Tina Simon, and we're so glad you will be joining us for our special cooking show. Today we will be preparing 4 dishes with local chefs from around the area and learning some great tips along the way. You'll also have an opportunity to show your support for WBGU TV and receive your own copy of the recipes shown here today. So let's get started. Right now I'm here with Jonathan Segesser. And Jonathan, you're an actual chef. You have your own restaurant.
I do.
Restaurant's name?
Sebastiano's Italiano.
Okay.
And we're in South Toledo.
And today, Jonathan is going to prepare chicken marsala for us, which is one of my favorite dishes. I've never made it at home, so we'll see how this goes today.
All right.
So what do we have here? We got...
well, the first thing you do is you make sure you got a hot pan.
How do you know it's hot? Do you splash water in it, or?
Don't splash water in it. You'll feel the heat kind of radiating off of it.
Can it get too hot?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
You don't want to burn the flour because we're going to be dredging our chicken in some flour.
Okay.
The little trick that I use, and I'm sure a lot of other chefs use, is that you just kind of keep your hand down here. Don't put it in the pan, but you can feel the heat radiating off of it.
Good tip. Good tip.
So
before we get started, let's go ahead and talk about how did you end up owning your own restaurant? I know you were in the Navy, you were in Hawaii, and now you're in Northwest Ohio.
Yeah, it was, well, cooking is a second career for me. I was in the service for about 6 or 7 years. And my last tour in the Navy was on shore duty. And shore duty is a time when you you get off sea duty, you kind of recharge your batteries. And I was at a development force where we were testing torpedoes. And I was sitting at a desk every day, and I was miserable. And I wasn't sure what I was going to do when I got out of the Navy, but I knew that I wasn't going to be sitting at a desk.
Yes.
And a couple years later, I was watching Emeril Lagasse one night, and an ad for culinary school came on, and I thought, that sounds fascinating. So I went to culinary school, and here I am.
Did you have any inclination to cook before, or just after seeing the...
No, I didn't, but my dad reminds me that I did talk about it when I was a kid. So maybe like it was rattling in the back of the subconscious or something.
All right.
But
so you didn't cook then in the Navy, really? That was after?
No, I was an engineer and a navigator.
So how long does culinary school take?
It depends, but the school that I went to was about a year. I already had a degree, so I didn't need to do any, I didn't need to pursue a degree.
And where was your culinary school?
In Honolulu.
Oh, so you stayed there. You're from North Dakota, went to Hawaii, and then how did you end up here?
My wife.
Okay.
She's from, she grew up in Fostoria, but she's lived here in Toledo for about 14 years.
Okay, good. All right. So kind of done a lot of different things in your young life, right?
Yeah, lived all over the country, and so.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and get started with this, and we'll still talk about some. I want to know what it's like to have a restaurant. I think that would be challenging.
Short days. You don't really work very hard.
That's not what you said earlier.
It's absolutely the hardest I've ever worked, but it's also the most rewarding thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
So we have our hot pan, and we're going to start with a little bit of canola oil, vegetable oil. I like to go with a kind of a flavorless oil. I'm going to turn this down just a little bit. We're smoking.
That's how we know it's too warm, right?
A little bit, yeah.
It smokes.
It's not going to hurt anything too bad. We got about maybe a tablespoon or 2 of oil. And we take our dredging flour and our chicken. Dredge the chicken in the flour, and you kind of shake it a little bit to knock off that extra flour.
Is there just flour in there? Or I see it looks like maybe some pepper and...
Yep, salt and pepper.
Salt and pepper.
And that takes care of the seasoning, at least for me in the restaurant. I won't season it anymore while I'm cooking it.
So it looks like this cooks up pretty quick. It's
a very quick process.
They're thin, very thin cutlets, it looks like.
I use chicken tenderloins, and I actually pound them even more. And we are going very quick here.
Yes, it is going quick.
Very hot pan.
A little warm.
But I'm going to take this off a little bit, kind of shake things around. If you want to get a little bit of color, not that much color, but a little bit of color.
So in the restaurant, how do you know how much to cook? How do you know?
Well, you do it all the time, so it's a very...
You kind of know what...
It's a process that you're doing constantly, so We add a little bit of butter to our pan to start a sauce. Put that chicken to the side. Got about maybe half a cup of mushrooms that you're going to add to it. I'm going to cook those mushrooms down just a little bit.
Mushrooms, that's my favorite. With lots of butter. That's the best
Lots of
part.
butter.
The butter and the mushrooms is a good thing. So what do you typically, you're an Italian restaurant, right? So is chicken marsala one of your
Very popular.
seasoned dishes that everybody likes to get?
Absolutely. We do chicken marsala, chicken piccata, a lot of Alfredo dishes, pasta dishes. Without even trying, we ended up having a pretty hefty vegetarian section.
Oh,
'Cause
okay.
everything is mushrooms and tomatoes.
Yeah,
and-
right. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so when it comes time to deglaze the pan, take your marsala wine. I take it off the heat. So I don't want to have too much of a flame.
So now we talked about this earlier, the marsala wine. You can buy all kinds of different price ranges of wines. And I think you told me garbage in, garbage out.
Garbage in,
maybe?
garbage out, yeah. I mean, it largely depends. You don't need to buy a $30 bottle of wine, but certainly buy $10 or $15
Something that's-
bottle of wine, yeah.
And you really didn't use that much either, so it would last you, your bottle of wine, unless you drank it as you were cooking, would last.
I go through it pretty quickly at the restaurant, but it should last for a little while. So we add our heavy cream to it.
Ooh.
And I do it by sight, but I would say maybe a cup's worth of heavy cream. And in spite of it being heavy cream, it's still going to be a pretty light sauce. Now we
Anything
just
with
let it
cream
cook.
has got to be good. Cream, mushrooms, chicken, butter. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't
Yeah.
go wrong with that.
But this one's actually calorie-free, so you don't have to worry about anything.
Oh, okay, that's even better. Now, so this is going to thicken as it cooks. You haven't added, except the flour that was with the chicken. You
Right.
haven't really.
The way I'm creating the sauce is that I'm going to have the cream reduce a little bit, and you'll see like these little bubbles starting to form around the outside. As those bubbles kind of reach into the center, I'm going to add my Parmesan,
Okay,
and that'll help thicken up a little bit more.
very good. So you were telling me you go in about 8 o'clock in the morning and you're there until
10 or so.
10 or so at
it's-
night, and then you start over again.
Do it the next day.
I
yeah.
guess you do have to love it to.
You do. It's very hard work.
And
but
you
it-
probably spend a few hours prepping. You were saying that most everything's prepped, so that's kind of how the restaurant business goes.
Absolutely, yeah.
That you're not, because I envision when I'm cooking at home, I'm thinking, if you did this in a restaurant, how would you do this?
Well, that's the magic of the restaurant industry. You have all this stuff prepped for you ahead of time, or not. It's not prepped for you ahead of time.
Right,
you
but
prep it.
yes, it's still fresh. It's just everything's cut up like you have here.
So you can kind of see that those bubbles have sort of reached into the center. I add my cheese, about maybe a half cup, or a little bit more, and that's going to thicken things up a little bit. I'm actually going to take it off the heat now. Turn the chicken breast over a little bit, let all that cheese kind of soak up into the sauce.
Oh, that looks, and actually smells even better.
And then we'll grab the pasta.
Yes, we have a plate here that we're going to go ahead and.
And it really depends on however you want to plate it, but I would kind of just shingle the chicken breasts like this on top of each other.
That looks so good and smells even better. And it was quick. That's what I like about it.
quick,
It's
yeah.
and part of it is with the chicken being so thin. I mean, some
Absolutely.
of the chicken breasts you see nowadays don't look normal.
And I take my sauce and kind of just dredge it over there a little
Oh.
bit.
That is awesome.
And then it's really up to you how you want to garnish it. I put a little
Of
more
course,
cheese
more
on top.
you can't go wrong with more cheese.
Make it look all fancy. And then green, just for contrast, you can use parsley. I would stick with parsley. It's pretty neutral.
It's
not going to add
gonna
too many
add a
different
lot
flavors.
of the flavor. Well, this looks awesome. And Jonathan, again, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
sharing your recipe. And I'm definitely going to be seeing you at your restaurant soon.
Awesome.
So thank you.
Thanks, Tina and Jonathan. We'll be right back to the kitchen in just a moment with 3 more great recipes. Keep in mind that your support of programs like WBGU Cooks help us provide programs like these, as well as our great national programs and some of our local programs like Scenic Stops, Music's Brewing at Coffee Amici, Northwest Ohio Journal, and all the other great programs you've come to appreciate on WBGU TV. Now with me is Jane Myers, and Jane, you're going to tell us about some of the thank you gifts that help support programming like WBGU Cooks.
Certainly, Steve. There are many to choose from. And for a pledge, a gift of $40, there are recipe cards. And then recipe cards and a book for a gift of $60. And then a card book, and then the member card, which has a lot of value to that, and that's for $100. And then for a gift of $250, you get all the cookbooks, 10 cookbooks, and everything else all above. So really some nice items that you can use.
Absolutely, and if you look at the member card, it has restaurants and attractions from all over Northwest
does.
Ohio, Southeastern Michigan, and a lot of those are 2-for-1 dining. So one of the things you do, if you like the kind of things you're seeing cooked here today, chances are most of the restaurants and some of the other places that are listed in there are probably just around the block from you. You can stop in there and get a great 2-for-1 deal with the member card and the membership to WBGU.
Exactly.
And of course, the recipe cards and books. I mean, some of the great things about that is you see recipes from all over Northwest Ohio because we've had viewers and members submit things. So for instance, if you're looking for desserts, the Seasonal Sensations book has all kinds of things for desserts, entrees, appetizers, those kind of things. And I was just looking, so for instance, here's one for like quick apple dumplings from Terry and Bowling Green. You know, an easy recipe, kind of put it together, looks very tasteful. And as we go through some of the other chefs, we're watching Jonathan cook this. You know, you looked at that and said, now, I'm not sure mine would look like this when it was done, but it might taste sort of like this.
We
But
might be able to pull it
you're
off.
watching them put that together, and they make it look so easy. But, of course, obviously, lots of time and energy and training went into producing this kind of food. So keep in mind as we go through these various menus and these various items today that these are things that hopefully you can learn how to cook, and maybe it'll get you out to a restaurant and check out one of the people that's on today.
Exactly, Steve. This looks very doable.
Yeah,
This
I'm
looks
gonna
very
try
doable.
a
We're
little
gonna try
bit
it?
here. Yeah, we're gonna
Try
try
it?
this. And keep in mind too that we've got those thank you gifts. So we've got the recipe cards, the recipe card and book, the member card, all that kind of thing, and we'll be talking a little bit more about that because we do need your support to make sure that we can provide programs like this one and all the other programs that I mentioned. So how is it?
Exactly. It is very good,
Is it good?
very
Yeah,
good.
I'm gonna try it right here.
The other thing is, I asked Jonathan, is what kind of a salad might go with this if you were preparing this at home, and he suggested in the cookbook the lettuce Parmesan salad.
Oh, okay.
Because he said the onions are a strong flavor and they would kind of counteract the cream a little bit. So he said that would be a nice balance to this, and that's by Lisa, Wayne, and Holgate.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So, yeah, and that's the nice thing about the various books, and especially Seasonal Sensations. It's nice items, sort of, a little reflection of the culture because these are things that people cook who live in the area. And so there's a little heritage there, a little culture, a little whatever. So it's kind of neat. So keep in mind the recipe cards for $40 if you provide support at that level, the recipe cards and book for $60, the cards, books, and member card for $100, and also the 10 cookbooks and everything else we can throw in there. But everything else must include a lot of interesting things for $250. But keep in mind, we really do need your support. So take a look at the number on the screen or go to WBGU.org and help support programming here on WBGU TV.
Thank you, Steve. And right now we are with Chef Patrick Hannon from BGSU Dining right here on the campus of Bowling Green State University. And today we're going to make a salmon with vermouth, watercress, and tomato. Am I right?
Correct.
Okay. And we talked a little bit beforehand. You are an executive chef, and that means you're in charge of a lot of different things.
Yeah, an
Yes.
executive chef is usually in charge of a number of food outlets, whether it be a number of restaurants, catering, a number of food outlets, usually large hotels or
So you have your
resorts.
hands in a lot of different things
Yes,
then.
yes.
Good.
I have 5 chefs working under me that run their own operations.
Which actually on a college campus, people might not think that would be the case.
Yes, the lunch lady is gone.
Yeah, that's good.
yeah.
And you make stuff like this?
Yes, we do.
Good,
Yeah, yeah,
good.
we do. We do a lot of different things on campus, from what young kids might expect, but also we do stealth health as well.
Oh,
so-
that is very good, very
Right,
good.
right.
And I think we're all a little more particular about our health these days.
Yes,
so
that's true,
I think
that's
it's
true.
good that they have options. So we have a pan over here that is
Yes,
getting
it's
very,
a little too hot.
very,
That's
very
all right.
warm.
We just had to be ready
We're
for
just-
the camera.
we're
We're
just-
going to slow down, but let me walk through this.
Yeah.
What we're going to do a little wild salmon saute, and this is pretty good product. A lot of people are a little confused between a wild and a farm salmon, and we don't need to get into all the logistics of that. Wild is always better. It's a little more expensive, but it's also seasonal. So it's okay to buy a frozen salmon. Their method technique of freezing these days is very high quality. Fresh is always best, but it's also seasonal. Some of the farmed fish messes with the ecosystem a little, and that's why You know, it's a sustainability issue. This dish is really simple. A lot of folks are scared of preparing fish
Yes.
because they're not sure about it, those types of things. The method technique we're doing here is just a quick saute, and then we're doing a pan sauce, which we're going to use fresh watercress, which has a great peppery flavor.
Okay.
If you don't have watercress, you can use arugula. We like a bitter, peppery green for this dish. We're using a little tomato, which is what we call concassé in French, which just means peeled seed and dice, where you blanch the tomato, you
Oh,
peel
okay.
it, you
So
cut it in
that's-
half, take the seeds out. And then this is a stock. You can use a chicken stock, a vegetable stock, or we're using half vegetable stock and half a veal stock here.
And we talked about the stock.
Yes,
It's kind of
it's
an
always
important
good
thing.
to make homemade stock, and that's certainly sometimes a project. But if you don't have time to do that when you're shopping, you can buy what we call box stock. There's a couple of things that you want to make sure of when you're purchasing that, and no MSG and no salt.
Okay.
Okay, because you want to be able to control that.
And you were talking about how I didn't realize vegetable stock takes only about an hour and a half, but if
Yeah.
you get into your meat stocks, it's a couple-day process,
Yeah,
possibly.
a chicken stock is going to cook for about 6 to 8 hours,
Okay.
and when you get into a large animal, a veal or a steer, you're talking a couple of days, because it takes a process to pull the natural gelatin out of the bones and those
Which
types of things.
I'm tell you, haven't done before,
Right.
so I've learned something already.
There you go. There you
Now,
go.
I have a question. How this is? You made this thin for a reason, right? I mean, when you get salmon,
Exactly. It's a little thicker, and if you can notice, and I probably should have brought the whole fish, but if you can notice this fish when I separate it a little, it's cut on the bias, where when I have the fillet on the cutting board, I will tilt the knife and come down so I get like a scallopini of fish. So it's much thinner than
Right.
a big chunk of fish. And you could do that if you're grilling this. You wouldn't want to grill a thin fish like that at all,
but
right?
that probably helps you cook it. I think that's part of
Exactly.
it. Is how is it done? Is it not done?
Exactly. And really, we're really just going to caramelize this because it has a natural salt on it. And we're not going to put a lot of pepper on this dish at all. And you can, when you're sauteing, you can hear it, all right? And when you add a cold product to a hot pan, it's going to cool the pan. So a lot of people think they need to shake the pan.
Yeah.
Well, what you're doing is actually cooling the pan.
Oh,
All right.
okay.
So as you can see, what we will do, I can hear it, and once you have experience, you can hear the pan getting a little more hot, right? Now this is electric, and chefs
Yes,
hate electric,
yeah,
but
I-
actually for stock making, it's very
It's
good because
better.
you can regulate it really well. So I have a little olive oil in this pan, and because this is a Teflon pan, you really don't need that much fat at all. Matter of fact, I can show you on the camera
Yeah.
that we're actually just going to pour a little of it off because we really don't need that fat. Just to give you an example. And you'll see, I'll take that off the camera. Now we'll caramelize this fish, and it's very, very quick.
Yeah, you can see it
Right,
cooking
you can
around
see
the
it cooking
edges,
all
and
around the
yeah.
edge, right? And you can see it's nicely caramelized.
My salmon has never looked like that before.
It's never looked like that, right?
No.
Well, see, it's a hot pan, and we're probably about 45 seconds into the cooking process, and we're just about done.
Okay.
And what I will do, you can warm your plate in the oven. Now, this fish is so thin that it'll do what we call a carryover cooking, where I will just,
okay.
after I turn it, I will take it right out of the pan, and I will actually keep it on that plate, and you can put it in the oven as people in the background are waving the smoke. Now we're going to let that pan just cool a little. We don't want it too hot when we put the vegetables in here.
Okay.
So what we're going to do is we're going to add a little shallot, and you'll hear the sizzle. We're going right into the pan that we cooked the fish in.
But is it on the heat or off?
Nope, it's off the
yeah.
heat a little, but we are going to cook it.
Okay.
We're going to add a little tomato, and it's all in the recipe that I provided, folks. And of course, you'll notice the color on that tomato because it's March.
Yeah.
All right.
Unfortunately.
Ripe tomatoes are always better, so hunt them down. And a good thing to do when you buy tomatoes is don't refrigerate them. Put them in a paper bag
Okay.
and let them ripen. It's always better.
Good.
So now I can hear this pan is still hot. Can you hear that?
I can
All
hear
right,
it.
so we're going to put it on the fire a little. And I really don't need to cook the tomato and the shallot that much. I just really want to warm it.
Now you're shaking your pan.
Shaking the pan because I don't need to worry about it cooling at this
Okay,
point,
got it.
right? Because what we're going to do, we're actually going to warm this tomato, get a little caramelization, and we're going to use vermouth, very dry, very sec, what we call dry. If you don't have dry vermouth, you can use white wine.
Okay.
We're going to take it off the fire, and we're just going to moisten it a little, like the bottom of the pan. And this is very, very fast. Now we'll let that cook. As you can see, it's very fast.
Yeah.
Okay? And I see some of our friends off camera getting ready to eat. Now, I want to see these. The most people see that it's starting to get dry. All right, now we're going to add a little of the stock.
And you can use other fish. We've talked
Yes.
about that there's other fish that
This
we can...
dish was, I originally designed this to go on Dover sole. So it's really, depending on the fish, it works better with a fatty fish because the watercress and the tomato, the lightness of the sauce
Right.
helps to cut that. That's fairly simple.
That
As you
looks-
can see, it's starting to get
Yeah,
viscous.
that's really...
You always like to smell a little of the love. Now here, I'm going to turn it down. We'll let that simmer, and I just want people, I wanted to do a dish like this on camera so people can see how simple it is.
Yeah,
All right?
it's-
Now is what we're going to do. You must taste. Always taste, right?
Oh, yes,
Because you want to
definitely.
make sure that it's not too salty. I'm going to taste it.
Yes, I'm always tasting.
Very light. Now, what's going to happen, the stock is fine. It could use just a little more stock. We're going to add just a little more just to lighten the dish up a little more. Now, at this point, because watercress is so peppery, we're not going to add salt or pepper.
Okay.
All right, we're not going to add pepper because the greens are so pepper. Now, the fish is still warm. And if you want, you can have a warm oven that we have over here, and you can actually take the plate with the fish on it and keep it in a
Oh, okay.
185-degree oven just to keep it warm. But the dish usually goes so fast that you don't usually
That
need
you
to.
don't need to do
So
that.
watch this. What we're going to do is just simply wilt the watercress